Hi, everybody. Welcome to our remote episode of A Better Shrewsbury. We are remote today because I have COVID.
Past tense.
Past tense, but I'm still symptomatic, so we're being safe by doing a remote episode. But today, as you can see, we have some special guests. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your organization, and then we will do some random questions to get to know you a little better.
Amna, you go ahead. Go first.
Sure. So my name is Amna. I have been living in Medway for almost 10 years now. I have two kids, a 7th grader and a 4th grader in the public schools here. So Marcus lives in Medway as well, as I'm sure he'll tell you. We actually met as a consequence of coming together to form Medway Marches in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder. So, it was a very spontaneous and a very fortuitous meeting, I would say. And we all just came together. We had sort of a common goal to make Medway, which is a great place to live in, an even better place by making it more inclusive for our BIPOC neighbors. And so basically, I'm a mom, I'm a resident, and we're all just working similar to what you all are doing to make our community a little bit more friendly and a little bit more inclusive. And I'll let Marcus take over.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Marques Crosby here. As Amna mentioned, I'm a resident of Medway. I have 3 children. 10, 6, and 3. So 5th grade, 1st grade, and preschool. And I'm married as well. My lovely wife is also a co-founder of our group, Medway Marches. And as Amna mentioned, we all came together for a common goal, and we've just been working extremely hard behind the scenes and, on top of our families and our day jobs, and just looking to leave our little stamp on our community.
That's awesome. I think Sanam and I were smiling a lot as you explained how you met, because we also have a similar story about how we met too. So it's really inspiring how these issues of social justice and advocacy and inclusivity can really bring people together in new and exciting ways. So kudos to you both for starting Medway Marches. I think we're going to do some random topic generators now before we hop into our more substantive conversation. So I hope you guys are good sports.
Yeah,
We'll try.
I'm gonna click now. Okay, question 1. What's your worst habit?
Worst habit.
I'll say mine is procrastination. So it's really strange because in a lot of ways I'm a real control freak. I like to have things nicely planned out and everything, but somehow I think I don't get that real fire lit until I know there's just no more time left. So I wish I could become really organized and have everything planned out so it doesn't become a crisis all the way at the end.
But sometimes that fire really helps you get over
apparently it does. So I've managed to survive all of these years. I don't think it's going to change, but I still wish it would.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is this like the interview questions where you take a negative and morph it into a positive?
Yes.
You're hired.
That is definitely one of mine as well. I would say, just to give a different answer, impatience. I'm definitely that person that likes instant answers and gratification. So like if I'm doing something, I'm reaching out to someone I need an answer from, I get impatient. Like if they can't give me what I need right away. So definitely, holding back, trying to hold back a little bit, especially in work like this where there's just so much to do, so much to stay on top of.
Bridgette, you want?
Are we answering? I don't know. I was going to ask.
Sure, why not? Let's do
Okay,
it.
great. So I'm ENTJ on Myers-Briggs, which is the commander style personality, quote unquote. The picture on some of the websites for this personality type is not very pleasant, because it's basically a get stuff done type of person, despite any emotional baggage that other people might have. And I think sometimes in life, in parenting, in partnership, in love, it is hard to kind of be such a get it done type person. I know that in my partnership with Sanam, I frequently drive her nuts because she'll have an idea and I've already like written the whole thing out, made a prototype,
She's
whatever
not
it is.
joking. She is not joking.
Yeah, because I'm just like, all right, let's get it done. And sometimes people need time to emotionally digest their experiences. I mean, I can show you a prototype. I actually have one right here that Sonam just had this random idea.
I told her we should start recycling jars and make plant propagation tools. And I literally texted her this yesterday morning and she's already built a prototype of it. I was just
Wow.
like,
Wow.
who are you and why?
Yeah, so that's me. That's my
Yeah.
that's my weakness. I'll try to
That
leave it at
looks Pinterest worthy, definitely.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna try to keep the ivy in frame a little bit. Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
See, I feel a little shallow now because I was gonna say sometimes I clear my throat too much, but I think if we're gonna go if we're gonna go a little deeper than that, I think sometimes I could be a little intense. Sometimes I get into these like planning modes and I'm like, all right, let's do everything right now at the same time. So that's been an interesting balance with Bridgette as well. I think that's somewhere where we intersect. Not exactly, but it's been a reason why we've connected so much because we both are get things done, but in kind of a different way.
And not to change the subject, is your group, are you generally just working together or are there others?
So our group is similar to yours. It's called A Better Shrewsbury. And then it's kind of like this, we're not an official nonprofit organization. We're just kind of a community group that tries to push forward. We find there's way less tape that way, but we're like, I think we can consider ourselves sister organizations.
Yeah.
For everyone watching, there are lots of small town organizations similar. They all popped up around the time of George Floyd's murder, but it's been really nice to see. Should we do one more question or jump right into our topic of the day?
I'd love to learn a little bit more about them. Let's do one more question.
One
And maybe
more
just they can
question.
answer it. Should we ask them what the poll was today in ABS? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Google.
The question, so would you rather be stuck on a broken ski lift or a broken elevator?
Elevator.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Why? I would not choose that answer.
Well, when we say broken, we just mean it's not moving, right? Like the doors.
Right.
Open. Yeah. I'm not necessarily afraid of heights. Like I've gone skydiving, but just the thought of being suspended in the air freaks me out. So I'd rather be in an elevator. Just.
Huh.
I would have to agree with Marcus on that one. That would be my pick too. I'm not good with heights at all. And I was born in Pakistan. I lived in Karachi for the bulk of my growing up. I never saw snow, and I'm still not very good with snow and ice. So me on a ski lift would be like, I don't think it would be happening. Maybe if I was going snow tubing, but skiing, no. I tried to take lessons and spent the bulk of my lessons falling down. I got really good at learning how to get up with skis on, made it down a bunny slope, but that's about the extent of my ability on skis and ski lifts. So yeah.
Well, I think this is the line. This is the line between Shrewsbury that has Ward Hill and Medway that doesn't. This is it. We're all about the ski lift.
We
We're
need
like,
separate
I will be on the
organizations.
ski lift. Don't worry about the elevator. I don't want to be
I'm
on
on
the
the ski
elevator.
lift
I've
with
seen too
you.
many horror things with elevators. No.
The cold
Actually-
weather tips the scale too, for sure. For me.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So why don't we hop into our conversation? We wanted to connect with you guys a little bit about this being October. about Indigenous Peoples Day. It's something that's been very important to the A Better Shrewsbury group for some time. Shrewsbury sits on the land of the Nipmuc people, and we have for a long time felt that we would be better served to remove Columbus Day from the calendar here in town in favor of an Indigenous Peoples Day holiday. And I know a lot of private businesses here in town have been doing that, but we wanted to kind of connect with you a little bit about that effort in your community and about what that means for your group.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've done first, and then we can chime in, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, we can do that. So, I mean, it started with Sanam here way in the past sending letters asking the schools to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day, and that for a year was a no. We eventually came to sort of a compromise where it would be a / Columbus Day / Indigenous People Day. That was not the long-term goal. That was sort of a stopgate just so that we could kind of start to move the needle a little bit further. But it seems that now that the / has come into play, there doesn't seem to be a lot of political imperative or will to completely remove Columbus Day from the calendar. You know, Shrewsbury historically has had a large Italian American population. It was actually referenced in an episode of The Golden Girls, if people don't know, for that. And so I know that there is some tension in some, not all, segments of the Italian American community about the Columbus Day holiday and the cultural significance of it. And so we've been doing a lot of information sharing about what the history of this land means, about the massacres that occurred in Massachusetts to impact people. And in addition to that, every single year we collect signatures around this time to petition the town, the schools, to finally do away with Columbus Day in favor of Indigenous Peoples Day. So far, no luck, but there's actually a petition out right now gaining signatures that a community member wrote, not one of us, this year to try to push the effort forward. Sanam, did I miss anything?
You didn't, no. Yeah, I think she's hit 100 signatures so far. Shout out to Carissa Ford for heading that up.
I saw that post on your Facebook group.
Yeah, hopefully this is the year that we this is year 4 that we've submitted.
Wow.
Which is disappointing a little bit that it's taking so long, especially since a lot of neighboring towns have made the switch with very little conversation.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but I was just looking over the Franklin School Committee meeting at which they had unanimously voted to have Columbus Day replaced with Indigenous Peoples Day. And it seemed like it literally was a no-brainer for them. You know, one of the members on the school committee felt like she couldn't in good conscience approve the school calendar for this year with it still having Columbus Day on it. And they had some discussion around that. And then it was a 7-0 unanimous vote, you know, and so it really is encouraging to see that it can be so simple of a process, right? Especially when we're struggling to get our towns on board.
I was going to say also discouraging for those of us that have been doing this for years.
Right, but we have to remain hopeful. We have to keep pushing. I mean, look at these folks, right? They've been doing it for years, and kudos to you for, you know, the consistency and the persistence. I think that is really needed in this work. It's not just a one and done.
It's funny because locally, you know, the change itself is literally just deleting one word.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the action itself is so minimal, but the impact is really a signal to the state that, you know, our town is ready to make this shift and that we'd like to see this change in Massachusetts at large. Our district says that their stance is basically that once the state makes the shift, then we will make the shift. But our stance is that we need to signal to the state that we are interested in this shift. And so many other towns around us have already made this shift. Why are we so far behind?
And Sanam, I think you hit the nail on the head with that statement, because I was actually speaking with one of our state reps a few days ago on this matter, you know, just trying to get information on where the bills are in the House and the Senate. And that was exactly the point that he made as well, that they need that groundswell, that grassroots effort speaking up to the leaders. Because I mean, in a way, that is what democracy is about, right? It's the people speaking and making their voices heard so that our elected officials know that they have that backing, and that desire exists in their constituents to move these things forward. So I totally agree with you on that.
So where are you guys at with this effort? What have you been working on?
Marcus, do you want to start?
Sure. So our journey, we are coming up on about 2 years ourselves, I'd say. And so we are lucky enough that through our efforts here with Medway Marches, we actually have a resident in Medway who is Indigenous herself and is pretty well connected. She does a lot with the anti-mascot work, like on a state level. And then she's just very connected with a lot of different tribes and folks around the area. So she connected us with someone who I did reach out to, wasn't able to be here today, but that just leads the efforts on like Indigenous Peoples Day MA. And we've met with members of the Italians for Indigenous Peoples Day. So we were lucky enough to have her as a resource, and I learned, just a lot. And so through talking with her and some of the other folks and just strategizing, we initially said, we don't know that we can get this through at a town level yet. We feel as though our school committee is semi-progressive, and maybe we can start there to see if that's something we can, get past. And through a lot of our discussions, we were told it's kind of an all or nothing. We didn't really go for the slash because, that was pretty offensive to us and to the folks that we spoke to. And so for better or worse, that's kind of where we are today. We're still working through things with our school committee. Unfortunately, it didn't get passed as quickly and as easily as we thought. We did put together a petition where we received over 200 signatures, was it, Amna?
Yeah, in excess of 200 signatures. And actually, when that petition was presented to our school committee, this was in January of this year, they actually made the comment that that was one of the few or first times that they had seen so much student participation coming towards them, like so many student voices speaking up, which I think should send a strong signal for the importance of this change to be made, right? They did recognize that, but I think similar to what you all experienced, we had a few sort of pushbacks, right? Just in summary, sort of the main areas of pushback were some people on the committee felt like it's a change that should come from the state or federal level, and it's not in the purview of the school committee. There were other people or other concerns mentioned were that it was a cosmetic change or a change in name alone, and therefore not really worthwhile pursuing. And I don't know about Shrewsbury, but at least in Medway, our school committee had also adopted the anti-racism resolution, where it actually really clearly states that, one of the goals of the school committee or the roles of the school committee is that they must guarantee that they will provide an environment that is inclusive and equitable, and all of those good things. And so it really is kind of baffling to me in a way if they were thinking maybe signing this resolution and the work is done, or are they, because in a way it's really low-hanging fruit, right? Like Sanam, you said, it's just it requires zero resources. You just need to make a change, hit delete, enter the new name. So it's a little bit frustrating because there's not been really any like solid, tangible reason presented as to why this would not be something they would be interested in moving forward with.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is obviously the sign of the times that we are in, everything is really polarizing, but we really haven't had a lot of people really come out and speak openly against it either. I think everyone knows that opposition is there, but there's been a few comments, at our school committee meeting, but there hasn't been the amount of pushback and, up in arms, people coming out of, the woodwork to just really show up and oppose this that you would think. And, obviously I do think that's a factor here as well. I think, and one of our select board members previously said this as well, as the times have changed and the jobs have changed for a lot of them, where, maybe the select board previously was just, you're doing things that affect the town on a financial level, on a construction level and things like that. Whereas now there's issues or, cultural things that they have to worry about and think about. And so I think, we're coming to a place now where people have to really put themselves out there. And, one of the things that we've been just trying to do as Medway Marches is just make sure that people are being represented, all people are being represented, and we're holding these elected officials accountable.
Well, part of the
something. Oh, mhm.
Oh, no, sorry. Part of the issue is, and Amna brought it up, but a lot of towns are making these anti-racist statements and setting up diversity committees. But when it comes down to, and it sounds great on paper, but when it comes down to an actual initiative that requires a change, there's sudden pushback. So it's like, we are anti-racist, we love diversity, but let's not do that. And let's not do that either. And let's not do that. But why don't we have like a multicultural barbecue in the center of town? And we really need to move past that. A lot of people who push back against this issue, they always say, don't you have something better to work on? And to their point, it is kind of a minor thing, but at the same time, I'm like, if there's so much pushback for just changing this name on the calendar and teaching an honest history, how do you expect to teach that honest history when we can't even have an honest title? I mean, my kids, they're age 7 and 9. They still think Columbus discovered America. And I'm like, that's just so flawed on multiple levels. And I don't know where they're getting that from. But
I think that's been something that's been really useful, at least for me, because we do get into these discussions, friendly neighborly discussions online a lot in this town about Columbus. And, people say it's erasing history. And I'll say, okay, so tell me what you know about Christopher Columbus. Tell me the history as you understand it. And it's that he discovered America, he sailed the ocean blue in 1492, and then the Pinta de Santa Maria, because that's what you're taught in 3rd grade and 4th grade. And no one's ever dug deeper into the actual legacy and atrocity that was inflicted on North America because of these exploratory and colonial voyages here that were happening starting in the 1400s. And so one thing that I found really useful is providing historical record and saying, well, did you know this or did you know that? Because it can't just be for people who have that argument that we can't erase history. It can't just be, let's replace it with this more progressive thing. I think it's really incumbent, the work is to deconstruct this false idolization of this figure and tell that true history. And the more people that know that true history, I strongly believe the more people will be behind these initiatives, the more signatures that we'll get, and the more that the elected officials will feel compelled to step away from that. We only have a few minutes left, about 4 or 5, or actually even less than that, 3 minutes left. So I would like to give you each a chance, just if you have something that you want to draw attention to, or that's going on in your community that you think might be inspiring for the viewers to hear. We'd love for you to take a minute just to fill us in.
Yeah, I would just say our select board did put together a group related to looking at Indigenous people and a celebration. And so we, as Medway, do have an event this Saturday at Choke Park, I believe noon to 4 p.m., which will be our Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. So the library is involved, our historical commission is involved. So there will be, just, book selections and some information about Medway and, its Indigenous roots. And then we do have a speaker coming as well, who will be talking and educating also. So I'm actually not on the committee, so I'm not the most educated person to give.
Yeah,
the
I think
details,
he's the vice president of the Massachusetts tribe. George Thomas, I believe, is his name. So just to fill that part in. And then I think I would just add that, to what Bridgette was saying, I think it's sort of about how you frame the discussions, right? It's not about erasing history, but it's what you choose to celebrate, right? So we're not denying Columbus existed. We're not denying Columbus sailed on the oceans, but why would, of all the great people in this world, why would you choose to celebrate somebody that has a record of genocide, that literally, was in prison at his own time by the Queen of Spain, right? He was put into prison. He was not hailed as this great hero, even in his own time. His own companions wrote, like at the same time, about the atrocities that had been committed. So why would we choose to celebrate that, right? What does that say about us, that that's the only thing we can find to celebrate? And it's definitely not about erasing history. I would also say that we shouldn't be disheartened, and we should continue our efforts in, speaking with people and trying to push these efforts forward. I'm very happy to say that based on sort of our continued push with the school committee here in Medway, and the fact that a lot of community members have continued to come forward at various school committees ever since they decided they weren't going to look at this issue without even having taken a public vote on it. With the full entire school committee present, they have now decided to hold a public forum, which will take place on November 3rd, which I really commend them for doing. I think it's great that they're trying to get the voice of the community in.
And people that are watching, if you're passionate about this, you should get involved because those
Yes.
of us trying to push this are looking for support. So
Yes, definitely. Bridgette is on mute, so I'm
Thank you both so much. Great way to close out.
thank you for having us.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
hopefully-
having us. and
Hopefully we can meet in person next time and
Yes.
follow up on some of your efforts.
Yes, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know.